reading. You can see I'm in the spirit of friends today. Okay. I also would like to share with you this wonderful rose that I happen to have. This was actually from one of my family members from their services. This rose is holding up very well. It's so nice, so beautiful, and it reminds me of my grandmother because she liked roses, I believe, and I believe she liked more like a yellow kind of rose, actually. I didn't have the closest relationship with her, but you know, enough. You know what I mean? When you're young and they're old, like it's kind of, it's there's a disconnect there, but when you get older, sometimes, those little puzzle pieces start fitting together. Anyway, you guys, I have skipped over the calendar for the last couple days. So today being, are we already on the 14th? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay, so this is on the Farmer's Almanac calendar, so I'm just going to catch you up on what you missed from back on Monday. Okay, the 12th. This is talking about soft cheeses. Okay, so if any of you guys like brie, stuff like that, goat cheese, stuff like that. Soft cheeses should be lightly wrapped in parchment or wax paper. Okay, not plastic wrap, so no saran wrap, and stored in a drawer in the refrigerator. So yeah, don't leave it out sitting next to your onions, right? Because that's gonna absorb that smell, right? Okay, that's why you should always put your. I mean, they say really, Anyway. Okay, so this was yesterday, Tuesday, the 13th. Any 13s for you, okay? Any 13 fans out there. To increase your vitamin C intake, okay? Add bell peppers, broccoli, strawberries, and kiwi fruit to your diet. I have heard that about the kiwi fruit. I don't think I've necessarily heard that about the strawberries before. So, because they said they were going to stop making the Farmer's Almanac or something, but I bought this calendar, and I have like another kitchen calendar. So I don't know what the deal with the Farmer's Almanac actually is, because I have their 2026 materials here. So then this is today, Wednesday, January 14th. Okay, it says at 9 a.m. It's a little paragraph here. I'll read off to you. At 9 a.m. on this day in 1972, before the year of my birth. I am not that old. But I do I do mix with the Xers. The temperature back in 1972 in Loma, Montana, in degrees Fahrenheit was negative 54. Ooh. For those of you that don't follow Fahrenheit, 32 is freezing. So below 32 would be double freezing, right? So then you got to add how many more to get to 54? There's a math problem for you. Okay, by the end of the next day, or by the next day, morning, by the next day at 8 a.m., it had risen to 49 degrees Fahrenheit. That is nuts. This 103 degree difference set a world record for the greatest 24-hour temperature change in a single location. That is pretty fascinating. And we say where I live at, we have the wild weather, right? That's pretty wild. My guess is that next day, that was like out of ordinary, you know what I mean? And like, that it's more like supposed to be around negative. Which, wind chill easily. That, once you get up to the border, area, those northern states, you can hit those temperatures very easily. I mean, as one of my cousins was reminding me, when her son lived up there, and I have family that's from there. So, yes, I have been on those roads before when it's like Well, we hope they don't shut the interstate down, and they do. They have the big guard things that will come, and so you cannot get on to the exit, from the exit. You're gonna be staying in town that night. You know what I mean? Or hold up somewhere. Anyway, because that means it's a blizzard. Minus 54 Fahrenheit. Oh my. Alright, I really should have eaten something before starting this reading. Hopefully it doesn't go too long. But I do have a drink over here. Get me some sugar. So please do like the video, especially if you are in the chat today. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. Okay? You know what I mean? Hello, and yes, greetings 2026 in the chat. Okay, this is my Grateful Dead tarot deck here, FYI. Just so we are following a theme today. Okay. Oh boy, and the first one came out already. Okay, here we go. Seducey. The Eight of Swords. So, the Eight of Swords can be a very frustrating position. So especially if you're somebody who is a little bit uncertain yet about what 2026 is bringing you, think of life as, that ever unfolding rose. When we're born, we're all wrapped up in our swaddling clothes, right? And then, through our life, we open up and bloom. Okay? Sorry. One of the neighbor's friends. Anyway. They were here the other day. It was kind of annoying because it's like shaking my windows. But, when you live in town, these kids and their stereos, that's just what it do. I understand. You hear it too. I know. You guys can hear that, right? Probably through the video. Yeah, it's like shaking the floor in my living room. All right, so let's see what we have after the Eight of Swords here. The Five of Wands. Okay, so sure, things might be stacked against you now, right? But give yourself a fighting chance, because the thing is, there's going to be other people that want your time also. Okay? And if there's other people that want your time, well then why shouldn't you want to be spending that time with yourself? Doing something constructive for the benefit of you versus for the benefit of these other people. Hey. Yeah, I know. I think they turned it down a little bit. Either that or the song's over. Who knows? Well, one of their vehicles looks like mine, so that might be part of why the dog's like, hey, don't go anywhere without me. Isn't that right? Yeah, I know. He's so funny. All right. Now we have the Seven of Pentacles. Look at that. Okay. So, giving yourself that fighting chance and seeding for the next row. But it's not going to be an angry row. It's going to be a row that you tend to. It's going to be a row that you end up harvesting and enjoying. Here they are planting flowers. Some people are like, well, why are you planting flowers? You need to plant food. Well, okay. You can plant flowers too. I mean, if you must, you can go out and try and sell those flowers, but do you know what I mean? Not everything has to be about that in order for it to be enjoyable. Okay? So, the way your steak is done and somebody else's, don't make it wrong, don't make it right, just what other people enjoy. Okay? I don't like getting into that, well, I gotta hate on that person because they drive a nice car. They must be a jerk. Maybe they work really hard for that car. Maybe they wanted something reliable. Maybe they wanted something they know wasn't going to break down instead of some cheap piece of crap that their neighbor was going to try and sell them. Okay? Do you know what I'm saying? You can judge people all you want on material things and then turn around and say, well, that's not me. I'm not like that. Well, but you're judging them on materialism. So if you're not materialistic, what does it matter? It's kind of how I see it sometimes. You know what I mean? Especially people that are not hurting anybody. It's like, yeah, Ace of Swords. That's true. You're not going to make everybody happy. You look good in blue, they look good in green. You look good in, I won't say orange, right? Hopefully that's not what your 2026 brings. If that is the case, then yeah, you might need to majorly adjust your priorities, right? Anyway, you know what though? I saw some story. It was some dude, and I don't know if it's a true story though. See, that's the thing with some of these AI things now. It's like they're putting out stories out, and it's like, is that? So you got to go on the research. Like, is that a real? Sometimes it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, Ten of Swords. Overcarrying the burdens of others. Done with it. That's your pile. What was that show? 8 is Enough. Okay. Ace of Wands. Okay. So as you pursue 2026, you're being asked to follow your passions. Okay. Some people read this as a romantic energy card, which it could be. But I was getting earlier also, and I posted several videos from other creators earlier today out on the post tab, okay, that people can review if they want to. But, going for something that you are passionate about that's not, sex hormone related, okay? Believe it or not, your hormones change over time, right? But you still want to get some dopamine in there, right? So what is your happy little thought? Okay? Where you can say, I can fly doing this. Okay? In that figurative sense. Where, have you ever, you've had those days where you're like, man, everything was just easy today. Well, in the perfect world, that's how it's going to be. It's just going to be like floating, where things happen with that passion and energy like they're supposed to, okay? That doesn't mean you don't start out without struggle, without challenges. And then you have to give yourself time to see how it's going to unwind. But that doesn't mean don't do anything in the meantime. Seven of Pentacles, was that movie 7 Year Itch? Right? I mean, I see some of these videos, these people are like, oh, well, this is just my first marriage, or this is my start. I mean, there's like a whole TV show out there about like so-and-so's starter marriage, and it's like, I mean, I guess that's a way to look at it, but not everybody wants to take that approach to life either. Yet sometimes it could happen, right? What are you supposed to do? What, you're never supposed to get married again? Well, maybe you're the marrying kind. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know how it's going to turn out, right? But you need to keep planting those seeds. Okay. And again, there's this is in the current energy, so even if you have some disillusionment right now, trust that there are people trying to pull on your energy and say, oh, you would be really great doing this, or you would be great. I mean, you ever have those conversations with people and they're like, oh, you should do this and you should do that. And it's like, well, yeah, I got other things going on. Like, no offense, or thanks for the compliment, or I'll take that under your consideration. Whatever. Thanks for your opinion. I'll look into it, maybe never. And maybe you don't have to, right? But maybe you do, and maybe it gives you an idea for something you're already working on. Okay? That's the joy of being self-directed, okay? And that's part of why I wanted to post some of those videos about, people using the internet, to make money. There's all sorts of ways to make money, right? Just because you have an internet connection doesn't mean you're instantly going to be successful, right? Some things take work over time, right? So this Ten of Swords here, I think, is also about setting down the burdens of what other people somehow expected you to have or be, right? And it's like, yeah, that might still be off in the distance a little bit. Or that's another scene that's not really yours, okay? And the thing is, you might have lived through it enough where you're just like, okay, I'm good on that. Back here when we had 8, that was enough. But now, but then we went ahead and finished, but, is like some of this posts I hear about people quitting their jobs and they're like, they were still trying to give me work that day. It's like, yeah. They hadn't processed it in their mind, And it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to figure it out. That was kind of one of the, especially after being 18 years at my corporate job and being dismissed. Anyway, that was kind of one of the satisfying things that it's like, okay, well, yeah, here's my laptop. You figured it out. And then for 2 to 3 years after that, I would get calls from recruiters from that same company trying to get me to apply externally for the same area that I was dismissed from. Like, to me, that's harassment, but I'm not a sue happy person. So, every now and then I would post something on Facebook to kind of be like, hey, stop following me, creeps. It's like, and I would type back, I'm like, y'all realize that place you're talking to me about is the same place that dismissed me. So you might want to check with your upper management before you go showing on my resume. Because I'm exactly the person that they got rid of. Again, not my problem. You already confiscated my laptop, so you figure it out. You figure it out. You couldn't pay me $1 million. No. Some people are just not for sale. And some people don't understand that. And unfortunately, with, the pervasiveness of the internet, right? We have a lot of people thinking that there's going to be access to fast money. But, a lot of us, especially in the tarot community and stuff, we understand that people that obtain fast money often have problems hanging on to it because it wasn't part of their higher good, and that's not trying to wish anything on anybody, right? It's just the reality of the risks involved, which is why I highly recommend people research some of these things before just jumping in. I had 18 years at this corporate gig, and half of that was I was in the IT department. So for me, navigating all these social media apps and stuff for me has been kind of like my own side project. You know what I mean? In terms of, let's see how we can break the system, because that's what I did in IT when I worked at this company. I was, one of those testers, right? Well, what happens if you press this? And what happens if you do that? Well, and I had to instruct the people on how it needed to be coded. So, to meet our business requirements and stuff. So, I'm not a novice out there using technology. I've made a living in the real world, going into an office for 18 years. You know what I mean? And sitting at the desk and whatever. Although we did have some flex where I worked at pre-COVID in IT, and also the other division that I had worked at for almost 10 years before I joined the IT side of the company. And it was divisional IT too. You know what I mean? Some companies have like their own homegrown. Some people outsource everything. It kind of depends on the size of, the organization. So, yeah. Anyway. One of my favorite songs in the background, though. Jeepster. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So, I don't think I really have much else for you guys to... I guess, you know what? Let's go ahead and do these. I did one for myself the other night. I'll do one for you guys here. This Ancestral Oracle deck. Or no. This is Akashic Records. Oracle deck. Okay. Girl, I'm just a jeepster for your love. The name of the group who does this song is called T-Rex. And they were like the perfect glam 70s like power pop, rock pop kind of trio type stuff. Glam rock. And I say glam rock because like he had like big crazy hair. Mark Bolan, he had like big crazy hair, and he would wear the furs, and you know what I mean, and like dress like, are we on a stage? I think we're on a stage, so there's no such thing as overdone on stage. Some of these little, and if you watch one of the videos I posted from one of the other content creators, they talk about it too. The difference in the old days when you would have, like actresses on TV, appearing on film or whatnot, you knew who the vamp was in the scene, but she still had all her clothes on. Whereas today's, modern, whatever, yeah, right? Which, I get it. You're young, you want to express yourself, blah, blah, but as some of them people found out in those videos, it ain't all it is cracked up to be. And before deciding to take all your clothes off, why don't you just try starting a regular old YouTube channel? Try something like that first and see before crossing over into the deep, you know. So don't get conned by con men or women, okay, who want to convince you of a glamorous lifestyle, of, all your dreams coming true, when you get this fast money, okay? And, they interview some people on there and they talk about how they're making like $1 million a month. I mean, I'm just like, I don't even know what I would do with that. I mean, yeah, you get a nice car. Like, do you need 20 nice cars like Jay Leno? I mean, do you have Jay Leno's garage? And you need a new garage, and that's going to cost you more money. I mean, yeah, that's where my brain goes. You know what I mean? I could have like one hot rod and be like happy with that. But it's going to be the one I want, and I'm going to have a custom fucking paint job on it. You better fucking believe it, bitches. You know what I mean? It's like they're, and the tragedy too here is that you have a whole generation of folks out there that haven't been out living their lives. There's, 25-year-olds that have never kissed a boy or girl before. You know what I mean? Or been on a date or gone, you know what I mean? It's like, because they've been so, and so they think like, oh, I have to fit somewhere in this online world. And the fact is, you don't. Fact is, if you go to that movie theater and as you're driving by, you look around, you might be like, oh, there's a doctor's office and there's a office here. I mean, before I worked in the corporate world, I worked for a couple small businesses. And it's interesting to see what their business model is and what their business activity was, and how they survive the ebbs and flows. That's when I was talking about the gal that wore the fancy shoes to work. She was a salesperson. She was actually a pretty good salesperson though. And part of it was, did she need $300-$400 shoes? But you know what? Maybe when she was making them sales, she was like, yeah, I do. And I'm going to buy myself them nice shoes. Just saying. It's like, don't knock it till you try it. Now, me, I can't wear them heels like that, especially not now. I'll wear like a chunky heel or something, or a wedge, but I'm of a certain age. I've already ruined my feet, wearing the high heels too long and dancing and, all that kind of stuff. Speak your truth. Yeah. In college, we were climbing up on the speaker, dancing up on the speaker in our tube tops. You know what I mean? It's like, these days, people like, oh my God. It's like, well, at least we're not selling our ass online. Stop selling the empowerment myth of, something that ain't it. You know what I mean? It's like there's a whole big bad world out there. Okay. And I'm not trying to downplay the online spaces. Okay, because I know those are very important for a lot of people. And it's part of our vernacular now. But when I grew up, we didn't have it at all. So I remember, it's not just pre-COVID. I remember pre-internet. I remember pre-cable TV. All we had was the antenna where I lived at. We didn't have cable. I mean, I was excited when Friday night videos came on because I hadn't seen any of that stuff yet. Don't make yourself jaded chasing after something that may or may not exist, I guess is kind of what I want to get at as well. Because I think we all see the celebrities on TV, and how many times have them Kardashians been married? Have they settled down, and are they happy yet? I'm not, hey man, you can get married as many, it's legal. But if you're just made of money, although a lot of them girls have their own businesses and whatever from the momager, right? But that's what some folks choose to spend their time on. Anyway, speak your truth. You've stayed silent long enough. Speak up, stand your ground, and state your perspectives. You will rise to a higher vibration when you let your voice be heard. So don't be afraid to share your voice, especially if you are a young person. Maybe you're single. Maybe you are very involved in politics. Maybe, you know what I mean? It's like there is a space for you out there, even in the online world, right? Where, maybe when it was at the dinner table, it was shh, okay? But out there, you can do what you want without the judgment of everybody else, okay? A cousin I was talking to the other day mentioned something about living somewhere there they didn't really care about your political affiliations and stuff, and everyone, that's why we live in a voting society. And I just saw a video the other day, and I strongly disagreed with the young woman. She's like, this is a time to be doing this, and this, not voting, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you do need to vote. As a matter of fact, when's your next general election in your city or county? When's your next preliminary? Do you know? Be informed. Be informed. Because, standing on the street corner with your sign might not get it done. And trust me, over the years, I've heard a lot of talk from a lot of people, right? Oh, this has to happen, that. And real strong opinions. And then I ask them, did they go and vote? Oh, no. It's like we have absentee fucking voting, folks. Like, how much lazier can we get? And I find it kind of funny, they're protesting out in the streets over this one thing, but they weren't protesting out in the streets over the $9 billion in fraud. I'm sorry, you happen to have not, nobody was saying, they weren't out in the streets saying, where's our money? Where's our money? Because I'm telling you, I ain't got $9 billion laying around nowhere, stashed under the fucking mattress. Stuck in fear. You're thinking of all the things that could go wrong, but what about all the things that could go right? Make a paradigm shift in your thinking and take inspired action anyway. Okay. Especially if you're a gym person. Okay. I mentioned this maybe a month or so ago about, the new gym people showing up, right? Whereas you're like, I've already seen some videos. People posting like their first day and they're looking around, they're like, oh my god, was this a smart idea? Just get over that hump. Some of those people aren't going to make it through January. They're going to quit. That's just the statistic. Don't become the statistic. Okay? And you might need to ask yourself, well, what am I fearful of? Some people are fearful of winning. They know how to handle loss, but they don't know how to handle gains. Right? And then they get like, oh, that's not for me. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't want this big juicy steak over here? Because I kind of do. Okay. Well, they don't ever cook it right, blah, blah. How do you know? Maybe it's a new cook today. Okay. I mean, I got on camera today and I got this big old, I mean, y'all, I'm in a certain decade. Like, I shouldn't be getting these. And I had acne when I was a kid. That's one of those things I'm like, they say, oh, you grow out of it, blah, blah, and it's like, still waiting for that to happen. It's part of life. But yeah, when you're 14, you're probably like, oh my God, I don't want to go out of the house. I gotta put a band-aid over this thing. Oh my God, everybody, that type of thing. I feel you, fam. I really do. I do. But don't think I haven't been there, because I have. And a shout out to the guy at the sandwich shop yesterday. He was like, oh, you look like you're a college student cramming for an exam. I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, I haven't been in college. I haven't done that in a while, which is true. But this is nice of him to say. Maybe he was just flirting with me. I don't know. You know what I mean? It kind of gave me a giggle. Anyway. Caring connection. A new supportive relationship is on the horizon. It might be a kindred spirit or possibly even romance. It could be someone new or the deepening of an existing relationship. Open your heart to this new connection. And look, it's the dolphins. It's not too long ago I pulled both the dolphin card and Saint Dolphine, I believe it was. I believe it was a saint, not an archangel, but so dolphins might be significant to you. Remember the TV show Flipper? The boy's friend was a fish. Where were they at? I was kind of young for that show. So, anyway. You can see dolphins at the aquarium, though, as well. But these look like some nice dolphins, right? Okay, here you go. Honor yourself. Recognize the hard work you've put in to get where you are today. Instead of thinking how far you still have to go, remind yourself that you've accomplished things and be proud of that. Yes. How you choose to celebrate your life may not be how somebody else chooses to celebrate their life. Maybe they don't have the same kind of disposable income you have. Does that mean you're supposed to stop living? Maybe they don't work. Maybe you do. I'm just saying. Sometimes that creates divisions in our lives. It's like these socioeconomic things that happen. And it's like, I didn't really realize that. Because, when you're kids, you want everything to be equal, right? But when we grow up, we realize sometimes things don't look equal on the outside, okay? But, it could appear equal on the inside in other ways, okay? So, don't get down on yourself. Don't guilt yourself. Say, look, I've done this, this, and this. I don't have to explain that to nobody. Like I've been in business meetings before, and it's like I could have been like, I have a master's in business. You know what I mean? To kind of let them know that I'm not just some dipshit that they're fucking talking to, because sometimes that's how people talk to you. You know what I mean? But you don't have to do that. Instead, you might fix your hair a little, fix that crown, okay? You know, maybe you are wearing those $300, $400 slingbacks. I don't know. Me, I don't think I could do that. You know, maybe if I was her stature, though, a little bit, you know, petite female, could pull that off a little easier, I think. I'm taller for a female, so like I can't wear petite clothes. Although there are people in my family who are, so I feel like a giant. At 5'6", I feel like a giant compared to them. Okay, but sometimes it's just in your posture, right? Holding your head up high, putting your shoulders back, putting, you know, keeping your chest lifted, your chin lifted. Okay. You know, as we approach the Lenten season, which will be after, you know, Fat Tuesday and Mardi Gras, okay, is completed, okay. Um, you know, they say when you go to pray, don't appear sad, don't appear ashen, don't appear in, you know what I mean? Don't sell yourself short. Alrighty, that's the cherry on top today. I ain't got no more. Okay, grounding, yeah. Being asked to ground yourself, yeah. And if you watched my reading the other day, you know, I was talking about a lot of the external things happening where it might be one of those things where, you know, if you watch the news, you watch, you know, your local newscast and then you turn off the TV. Or if you want to watch the world news and see what's happening, or, you know, you want to read a newspaper, fine, but then put it off. You know, you don't necessarily have to make that everybody's every day, right? You know, so you know, maybe you still need to get to the gym, maybe you still need to do this, maybe you still need to do that, right? I was tending to one of my plants earlier. You know, if you have plants, that might be something that grounds you. Okay, so I have some new shoots coming up in them, but the old ones were dying, so I had to cut the old shoots off. Anyway. Alrighty, here it says you're being asked to ground yourself. You've been spending too much time in your head, and it's time to pay attention to your body and to the earth. Go outside and plant your feet on the ground and enjoy centering. Feeling this brings. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, that's all I have for today. So thanks for the likes on the video, and I didn't have to hide anybody in the chat today, so that was a bonus. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Okay. So, you know, it is hump day, so we're over that. And we're going to be sliding, right? Sliding into the weekend in a little bit. Okay. So, think about that as we proceed with 2026. And shortly, I mean, we might even be into Aquarius season already, or close. So, if you're born on a cusp, happy birthday to you. Anyway, until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye bye.